Today on College Football Today, live on SportsGrid, we have a historic rivalry with the pageantry to match, a Heisman Trophy to be celebrated, a college football coaching carousel that is spinning out of control, and, oh yeah, the first ever 12-team college football playoff bracket to break down for you. Welcome to a Saturday. What more could you want here on CFT? He is the mastermind of the college football pigskin. That is Joe Lisi. He is OK Dubs. That is Kevin Walsh. And I am Ben Stevens. Lisi, guy, on this Saturday, over these next 3 hours on the SportsGrid network, there is so much to get to. The 125th all-time meeting of the Army-Navy game. A Heisman Trophy to be crowned tonight in the Big Apple. Tons of coaching and transfer portal news around the sport. And next weekend, it's the first ever 12-team college football playoff with on-campus CFB games. There is so much to break down on this Saturday.
Oh, this is what it's all about. College football is back in a big way, and we see the 125th meeting of the Army-Navy game. Travis Hunter most likely will win the Heisman Trophy a little bit later. And then, next Friday night, we kick it off with the first game of the college football playoff. And bowl action today, Kev, doesn't get better than this.
We had a trend, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, where every Saturday you're like, best slate yet.
Yeah.
This is not our best slate, obviously. Right. Might be my favorite Saturday so far with what we have on the docket. I know you alluded to the coaching carousel. If we can address the elephant, that is Bill Belichick is going to be coaching North Carolina football next year. Unless you're one of the knuckleheads that think he's going to get bought out on June 1st for some reason in 2025. It is all too tangy, my good friend.
It is maybe not our best slate. We don't have 45, 50, 60 games on a full college football Saturday, but it is a busy day here on College Football Today. We'll preview Army-Navy in just a little bit. We'll talk about Chapel Bill, the new head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels, but we start with the college football playoff, because the last time we spoke to all of you here on College Football Today, it was Conference Championship Saturday, with so much left to be determined. Those opening round buys, the guaranteed spots into the college football playoff, and what might the selection committee do in the first ever year of 12 for those final at-large bids? Well, now we know. Here is what the college football playoff bracket, the first ever field of 12, looks like here in 2024. Our 4 opening round buys, the 4 highest ranked conference champs. Number 1, Oregon, the only undefeated FBS program this year in the sport. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Boise State. And the winners of the Big 12, that would be number 4, Arizona State, which means, Lisi Guy, our opening round on campus college football playoff games are as follows. Clemson pulls off the upset in the ACC championship. They'll be the 12 seed, traveling to Austin to take on number 5 Texas. Number 6 Penn State will host number 11 SMU. The Stangs earning that final at-large bid. We have number 7 Notre Dame in the in-state showdown against number 10 Indiana. In the 8-9 matchup is Ohio State and Tennessee next Saturday evening in Columbus. Lisi, when this all came out about 6 days ago on Selection Sunday for the college football playoff, what were some of your initial reactions?
Well, the initial reaction for me is that SMU gets into the college football playoff. I think it is deserving. You can make the argument over Alabama. But the other one that really stood out for me was where they priced and placed Penn State coming off the loss to Oregon, right? Penn State lost their 2 biggest games of the regular season to Ohio State and Oregon, respectively. And just from the looks of it early on, potentially has a very easy road to knock down that semifinal playoff door. We'll see how it plays out. That's why they play the games. But outside of that, happy that the Big 12 did get a bye. I think Arizona State was one of the hottest teams in the country. Cam Scadaboo, Sam Levitt, and that team have won 6 straight. How they dominated Iowa State in the championship game, very deserving for the Big 12 and the most competitive conference. You can make the argument throughout the regular season, Kev.
I would say the Big 12 was not deserving whatsoever of a bye because they ended up with the 12th team in the rankings. So to me, the big takeaway is, did they get it right? Did they get it wrong? They 1,000% got it wrong before they ever slotted teams. The format is a disaster. Expansion was necessary. That victory lap, my legs are tired. That's not the point. The way they pieced this thing together, it was obvious again, to me, before we ever played a game that they got this thing wrong, it took them 1 year, I think, for everyone to know, oh, we messed this up. Desperately saying, we got to give a G5 team chance. No way a G5. Boise's the 3 seed. Boise's the 9th team in their rankings is the 3. The 12th team in their rankings is the 4. The 16th team in their rankings is in. Oh, Oregon, due to the reseeding nature, gets the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee, opposed to, if we just take what typically would have been the 8-9, the winner of Indiana, Boise State, they would have been a touchdown plus favorite. Now they're expected to play a game as a pick'em, maybe a 1-point favorite here. That is what upsets me. I'm excited to break this all down, but it is seeing how much they messed up this format. I don't know who could possibly argue this is a clean product.
You see the college football playoff bracket in that field of 12. The only seed lines that correspond to the actual ranking in the CFP top 25 is number 1 Oregon and number 2 Georgia, who won the SEC championship game in overtime, going to an extra session in the SEC title for the first ever time. And Kev, I would agree with you. I think we are learning here in the first year of 12 that this current format is not ideal. Sure, we can still incentivize the significance of winning a conference championship by giving that automatic bid, but guaranteeing an opening round bye, probably not best for this bracket or the field. We'll talk more about how the bracket lays out, those first round games that kick off in just 6 days on a Friday night in snowy expected South Bend, Indiana. But let's talk about the field in that final debate. As we knew it entering last Saturday, if SMU were to be picked off by Clemson in the ACC championship game, would the committee give the nod to Alabama or keep the Stangs in the college football playoff field? Ultimately, although we know the format is not great, given the bracket, did the committee make the right choice of who is in the field?
I'm really not sure, because I think what is now very apparent is the committee went out of their way to tell us, we will not penalize you for losing in a conference championship game. And we talked about it on the desk. I don't know how much you wanted to ding up a team for losing a conference title game. We shouldn't forget, though, that losing in your conference championship game used to end your season. You always, Lisi, make the point of Georgia last year. A team that couldn't be touched, lost a conference title game, and then wasn't even in the conversation in last year's format. And I think the evidence is not just them keeping SMU in front of Alabama, but, again, if we were in the 14 format, you're telling me we would have had Oregon, Penn State, and Georgia, Texas rematches? No, we would have not.
Right.
They move things around so much due to the format, Lisi, to say we will not punish you for losing in a conference championship game, which, again, is a bit of an odd precedent.
I think they change it from year to year, and that's the problem that I think a lot of fans and we have in terms of how they break it down, because they changed their MO. They changed it last year with Florida State and Georgia, and this year, obviously, with expansion, they went out of their way to really back SMU, right, where they weren't consistent in that type of approach last season. So I think also as well, when we look at the expansion of the playoffs, the perception was, oh, we're going to get the 12 best teams, and that necessarily wasn't always the case. It's we wanted to give the opportunity for the group of 5 and the teams outside the Alabamas and the Texas and the Georgias to give an opportunity in terms of an expanded format and playoff, to give them an opportunity of a one-game situation, and that's what we have in terms of these games next weekend.
And I think if you could peel back the curtain and get full honesty and transparency from a Kenny Dillingham or a Spencer Danielson at Boise State, they might say, screw the opening round bye. We'd rather host the game on campus and welcome teams in to the blue. We'll talk plenty more about the path of the playoff next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Uncle Stevie can just walk up the aisle like he's at the supermarket. I'll get a starting pitcher here, I'll get a closer here, I'll get a first baseman here, and he'll just keep throwing things in the cart because there is no limit.
Now he's gone, so they got to go get arms to make that team better. Because the bottom line was they were just outclassed by the Dodgers. Let's face it, they got their ass beat.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I'm actually not even on a side today.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a challenge. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on this set to you guys, I said there is one elite defense entering the matchup in Austin back to end out October. It's not the Bulldogs like it used to be. It is Texas.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We are less than a week away from the first ever 12-team college football playoff. We will talk about the bracket, our opening round games that kick in just 6 days on a Friday night under the watchful eye of Touchdown Jesus in South Bend, Indiana. But I do want to talk bracket very quickly because for a while, for most of this season, we focused on the field, who would be in to the college football playoff. Now that we know the 12 teams and where they stand on those seed lines, let's talk path. Lisa, you made this point earlier. You could argue the loser of conference championship games might actually be the beneficiary in this bracket. Maybe at least in the Big Ten, where Oregon capped off an undefeated season in its first year in the league, drew the number 1 overall seed, but awaits the winner of the 8-9 matchup, Ohio State-Tennessee, where Penn State will get a home game against SMU, our final at-large team, and then head to the Fiesta Bowl with a victory to take on the 3 seed in Boise State.
Yeah, and they're an 8.5-point favorite, 8.5, 9 over SMU. And again, I think it'll be a tougher game than people think. But again, on paper, just from the stats, it looks like Penn State should move on to face off against Boise State in that matchup. No matter who wins, whether it be Tennessee or Ohio State right now, 7.5 on FanDuel, favorites at home in Columbus, is going to be a very difficult matchup for Oregon. A rematch is always difficult should the Buckeyes move on. And that's where I think that the committee did get it wrong because they're not really rewarding Oregon, even though they got a bye. They have a tough matchup to potentially make it to a semifinal playoff game. And this is where it does need to be reworked. But I will say the first round matchups that we have, they're intriguing and unique in their own setting because I think we'll see some upsets play out on Friday and Saturday, guys.
Yeah, I think we have interesting matchups. I don't think we have, like, the greatest slate of all time, but that wasn't their job, I don't think, right? But my issue with kind of we talk about the format and everything is it isn't just Penn State. Like, you could argue Texas's path is even easier than that of Penn State's. Georgia, if Beck didn't get injured, I fully believe would be the favorites to win the national championship because they have to play one less game than Penn State, and then they would have, like, their look line is actually a slight dog to Notre Dame, which is a whole nother thing that we can get to, but I think that has to do with the quarterback situation. I think that is the crazy thing is it's not just like, wow, Oregon has to play Ohio State. If Tennessee pulls off that upset, that will then be, I think, a line of Oregon-Tennessee within a field goal. The that is why this is so unfortunate. It's just, it's actually not that I feel bad for Oregon. It's just seeing the format generate this in a way isn't even surprising. Like, oh, of course, since we had to slot so many teams up higher. And that isn't this. I think we almost always knew the 3 seed and the 4 seed were never going to be third. We're not going to be top 5 teams in college football. That was the case all season, really.
Yeah, absolutely so. And we see that oftentimes in postseason brackets, whether it be the NCAA tournament in basketball collegiately or whatever playoff bracket you see professionally. There are teams that underperform to a certain extent throughout a regular season that might earn a wild card berth or are not seeded correctly to where they can be at their ceiling. That is certainly Ohio State and Tennessee, but it is because of the seedings within the college football playoff that allow that to be the 8-9 matchup. Oregon is the national championship favorite at this moment, but just by 10 cents in front of Texas, we knew how desirable that top at-large team would be in the number 5 spot. The Longhorns, that second best price at plus 360. Ohio State and Georgia tied for the third best at 5-1. Carson Beck now dealing with a UCL injury. That's the ligament in his right throwing elbow. Ryan Day has the confidence of his athletic director in Columbus, Ross Bjork, to be the head coach for the Buckeyes in the college football playoff and beyond. One of the great things about this first ever bracket, one thing that, of course, we will all celebrate, on-campus games for the first time ever in the history of the CFP. And that starts Friday night, Kev, in South Bend. In-state showdown between the 7-seed Notre Dame and the 10-seed Indiana with a generational and historic season. 7.5-point spread in favor of the Irish. We have all talked about IU's strength of schedule and their step-up spots all season long. Can they step up to match the occasion in South Bend on Friday?
Look, I think Indiana's certainly getting some love out there. I think people think the Hoosiers are going to be within the mix of this. If I may, register one more complaint, though, because I agree with you, the pageantry, and that's where I'll lean on you to look at these stadiums. The reality is, and this is my maybe more aggressive thing, if we got rid of conference championship games and we took what the committee had 1 through 16 and everybody got a home game, the games we would have had, then we would have had those bangers. We would have had Ohio State hosting Alabama. And I didn't move anything around. We would have had Georgia hosting Miami. Oregon would have hosted Iowa State. Oregon gets to have that home game there. Missing out on those things, I think, is very, very unfortunate ultimately here. But to go back to the game, Lisi, for Notre Dame, a victory here isn't enough, I think, when we talk big picture, because Indiana's one spot against a championship-level contender, they were destroyed by Ohio State. So we've been wondering for a long time now, because the Notre Dame schedule's obviously really opened up to be easier for them, is can Notre Dame be as impressive as Ohio State was in their game against Indiana?
I think they can be. But, again, I expect Indiana to be within margin in this game with the extra week of preparation and the fact that it is an in-state rivalry per se. I think they're going to bring everything but the kitchen sink to Notre Dame. That doesn't mean Notre Dame wins this game and, moves on. I'm not saying that. I think Notre Dame potentially wins a very close game. I do believe it's lower scoring in the area of 24-20. And the reason why I say that is Indiana, one of the best turnover margins in all of college football, plus 15 in playoff type of games. The teams that create turnovers and run the football effectively ultimately win or within margin. Indiana can do that. Now, that being said, Notre Dame has won 9 straight and has one of the best secondaries in all of college football. Going to be a very intriguing matchup.
And you'll see some rather lofty spreads for our opening round games. Texas, the heftiest favorite, double digits as they will host Clemson, the ACC champs. And even in the 8-9 matchup, Ohio State at home in the shoe, more than a touchdown favorite next Saturday night against the Volunteers. If there is an upset, do not plant that flag, Tennessee. Heisman Trophy conversations up next.
Need help with your NFL picks? Get NFL insider knowledge from Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, with Sick Picks at Sports Injury Central. We reveal hidden injury advantages the sports books miss. Our doctors provide insights, and our algorithm tells you who to bet on. Spreads, player props, totals, in-game bets, sick picks covers it all. Get a free week now with promo code SportsGrid at sixscore.com.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season.
Again, a busy Saturday live right here on College Football Today on SportsGrid. He is Joe Lisi. He is Kevin Walsh. I am Ben Stevens. Tonight in New York City, the 2024 Heisman Trophy Award will be handed out. Our four finalists that will be in the Big Apple on this Saturday night. Colorado's two-way superstar in Travis Hunter. Boise State's running back, the nation's leader in Ashton Jeanty, and two QBs, Oregon's Dylan Gabriel and Miami's Cam Ward. Lisi, where we enter this Saturday, that a Heisman Trophy will be awarded, we have a very hefty odds-on favorite at minus 10,000. Now, minus 9,000 on this Saturday, but still incredibly strong. That is Colorado's Travis Hunter. Do you agree with the odds? Will Travis Hunter win this award? Might there be any shifting in the hours to come?
No, I don't see it. I think he's a hands-down favorite and wins it by significant margin tonight. In terms of what he's done from the offensive perspective, team's leading receiver has elevated that team in terms of the wins this year. I mean, 6 more wins than what they had in terms of 2022 overall. And what he's done in terms of the defensive side of the ball, right? It started last year. We saw him play basically 100 snaps per game. And the interceptions, the ability to take a game over, cut off one half of the field and just elevate his team in marquee Power 5, Power 4 type of games. Yeah. Travis Hunter, to me, is the hands-down favorite. Again, is he the best wide receiver statistically in this class? No, but he has elevated the Colorado Buffaloes. Without Travis Hunter, unfortunately, I don't think they would have that record and be looking in terms of an 11-win season.
Yeah, I have kind of talked on the desk where I don't know if the amount of bets and perception is shooting Travis higher than he necessarily should be. Mm-hmm. Like, I wonder if the final tally of votes will be much closer than this number. And I don't feel as if the recent awards that were all given out gave us a ton of clarity. Because on one end, Jeanty won the Maxwell Player of the Year award. I know you'll give us what that means historically, typically, as it relates to the Heisman. Well, but then Travis Hunter wins the Defensive Player of the Year and the Wide Receiver of the Year award. Yeah. So, maybe he'll win this thing unanimously. Like, I'm not even referring to who I think should win. Forget that for a second. I'm talking about what is actually going to happen tonight. For me, that number says no suspense. Get the alert to your phone. Congratulations, Travis.
Yeah.
I actually think there is a little suspense going into the show tonight.
This is a historic Heisman list of finalists that will be there tonight in New York City, and that should be appreciated as well. To Kev's point, earlier this week, the rest of the college football awards were handed out. Travis Hunter won the Biletnikoff Award. That's for the top wide receiver in college football. He won the Chuck Bednarik Award for the best defensive player in college football, and yet was not a finalist for the Thorpe Award, which is the best defensive back in college football. Ashton Jeanty won the Doak Walker Award for the best running back in the country, and the Maxwell Award, which is often lockstep with where the Heisman Trophy is presented as well. In the last decade, since 2014, the start of the college football playoff era, 8 of the 10 winners of the Maxwell Award have also then won the Heisman Trophy just a few days later. Only twice has that not been the case. Last year in 2023, Jaden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy winner. Michael Penix Jr., the winner of the Maxwell. 2018, Kyler Murray won the Heisman Trophy. Alabama's Tua Tagovailoa, the winner of the Maxwell. Might we see that here? That remains to be seen. I will say the guy that won the Maxwell that didn't win the Heisman twice in the last decade did finish Kev runner-up in terms of that Heisman Trophy race.
Yeah, one thing I will say, I do wonder, because, of course, Dylan Gabriel and Cam Ward will both be there. And I might sound nuts for this, but if Travis Hunter didn't exist, because the thing about Travis is ultimately, once their record was good enough to get him there, it was kind of, it's Ohtani, right? Yeah. It's like, well, I mean, he's one of the 5 best defensive players and offensive players potentially in the country. Yeah. What do you really want to do with that? I wonder if Ashton Jeanty would have won this award if he was going head-to-head with Dylan Gabriel, if Hunter didn't exist. I know everybody would assume the answer is yes, but those teams did meet. Gabriel's team was victorious. Dylan Gabriel ultimately 13-0, unanimous number 1 in all of college football. Nobody actually thinks Gabriel deserves to win the award. I just wonder what the award would have looked like if it was Gabriel versus Jeanty only.
I think Jeanty would have been favored in terms of that type of situation. 7.1 yards per carry, 29 rushing touchdowns, dominant effort in terms of the 3-point loss to Oregon as well. So I believe they would have Jeanty first.
132 yards away. That is Ashton Jeanty from Barry Sanders' record set back in 1988. But Barry did that in only 11 games. A historic class nonetheless. And now it's time for Army-Navy next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Uncle Stevie can just walk up the aisle like he's at the supermarket. I'll get a starting pitcher here, I'll get a closer here, I'll get a first baseman here, and he'll just keep throwing things in the cart because there is no limit.
Now he's gone, so they got to go get arms to make that team better. Because the bottom line was they were just outclassed by the Dodgers. Let's face it, they got their ass beat.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I'm actually not even on a side today. Yeah. And I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a chance. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on this set to you guys, I said there is one elite defense entering the matchup in Austin back to end out October. It's not the Bulldogs like it used to be. It is Texas.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
the 125th all-time meeting of the Army-Navy game on this second Saturday in December and live right here on College Football Today. It is our CFT game of the week. Army, a conference champ for the first time in more than 130 years of football in West Point. Navy has 8 wins and enters looking to play spoiler to what would be a historic season for the Cadets. This matchup of Army and Navy, as good as you will ever find. I actually mean that, and we'll have the historic trends to back it up. But Lisi guy played today in Landover, Maryland, just outside the nation's capital. It's the 125th all-time Army-Navy game, where the Black Knights are a 6.5-point favorite against the Midshipmen, a total as high as we have seen since 2019 at 39.5. Where do you begin your breakdown for Army and Navy?
Well, Navy does lead the all-time series, 62-55-1 straight up, but Army has won 6 of the last 8, including the last 2. One last year, Ben, 17-11. They dominated for much of the game, gave up a garbage touchdown in terms of the second half. But you're talking about 2 offenses that are averaging 32 points per game. Army averaging 314 on the ground. We know about the dominance of Bryson Daly. He's averaging well over 5 yards per carry, 29 rushing touchdowns, tied with Ashton Genty as one of the tops in the nation. They love to run it and then obviously work off of play action. They're only averaging 83 rushing yards per game. On the flip side, Blake Horvath and that team, they run it as well, 240, but they have, at an average, 128 passing yards per game. They have thrown for more passing yards this year since the highest total since 2016. So they get after it. They have 2 200-yard games on the docket. I think they'll challenge Army in this matchup. Army does have the much better defense statistically, giving up 13 points per game, but it's a rivalry game. We saw 6.5s pop up earlier in the week. Now Kev 5.5s and 6s across the board. I like Blake Horvath and Navy, even though Army dominated Tulane last week in the AAC championship. Give me the Midshipmen potentially in the upset.
You do mention the number has been changing. Overnight, we saw 5.5s all of a sudden as the money certainly started to come in on Navy. I think this was a number that was bet up, though, through the week, starting around maybe 4.5 here. It's one of those spots to me where if you're going to bet Army laying this number, you have to think that they're significantly better, because it's not even just the cliche of, ooh, rivalry, throw the records out the books. It's still the nature of this game where possessions are limited. It is more difficult to win by margin. Well, I do think Army is significantly better than Navy. I think they are double-digit points better, actually, than Navy this season. And, you know, we talk spread math here. It kind of, it depends what you want to do. Like, you want to compare their Notre Dame games head-to-head. Okay, that would say that they're about even, but a part of that issue is Notre Dame's number kept kind of going up throughout the year, and that was the first time Navy had a step-up spot. Yeah. They didn't play a lot of teams in similar spots, so, like, Navy would play a team, lay 10, destroy them, and by the time they got to Army'd lay 25. And it's like, I don't know, is Army 15 points better? I believe that they are 10-plus points better, so for me, I would then want to get this under a touchdown, because I wouldn't want to lay 10 here with Army in this type of, not just rivalry, style of football game. Under a touchdown, though, I'm backing one of the best players in all of college football this season. We just talked Heisman. Yeah. Army has someone, I believe in Bryson Daly, who would have been very deserving to actually go to New York, quite frankly. Doesn't make the cut, but I just think Army is a college football playoff level team, in my opinion. Yeah. Navy is not that.
And Bryson Daly did finish 6th in terms of those top 10 vote getters in the Heisman Trophy. We'll talk more about the props in just a matter of moments. But I do want to go back to the team comparisons, because this is a historic edition of Army and Navy. 11 wins for Army. That ties the most ever in a single season for the Black Knights. 8 wins for Navy, the most since 2019. 19 combined wins between the two teams. It is the most we have ever seen between the two schools entering an Army-Navy game. It is the first time since 2017 that both clubs have accepted a bowl bid, know where they are going for bowl season. It is the first time since 2017 a lot of pride is at stake as well. The Commander-in-Chief's trophy is on the line. That is the battle between our 3 service academies, both Army and Navy, handling a down Air Force team this season. There is so much that goes into this game. The history, the tradition, the pageantry, and a rivalry on the field and teammates off it for years to come. I do want to talk that total because you talk pure Americana for Army and Navy. 17 of the last 18 years, the Army-Navy game have trended toward the under. The last time we saw 40 points, which would be over this total, the highest again the over-under has been since 2019, was back in 2013, and that was just 41. In fact, the last time this game was ever played in Landover, Maryland, at the home of the Commanders, was the last time we got into the upper 40s. That was back in 2011. Lisa, got both of these teams averaging more than 32 points per game. Both still run it on 75% of their plays or more. Still both top 10 rushing offenses. How electric does the offense need to be today, though, in a matchup where the style will be a huge dictator for how this game plays out to see us get over that total?
Well, I think you're going to need chunk plays, and that's the one area I'm a little concerned in terms of a rivalry game, because even though the stats say then trend to the over 39.5, I think both teams take this as a playoff game. They hate each other. It's a pure rivalry, and we know that they want to run the football first and foremost. As long as there's no penalties, that means that the clock will be running, and most likely it's time of possession type of drives. And it would be one thing, Ben, if we're talking low, right? 31, 32, where you have the ability to just get through that number with 1 or 2 plays. Now you need chunk plays on almost every quarter or turnovers to sustain that. That doesn't mean it can't happen. It's just that now pre-kick that we see the 39.5 play out. I mean, that's a very tough number to get through when we know that both teams want to run the football. Now, Army is one of the best turnover margins in all of college football as well, plus 14 in turnover margin. They win the turnover battle today. Most likely they'll cover and get through this 39.5, but I don't see it, Kev.
I think this total, like I said with the number, right, where, again, I would say if this wasn't this game, Army should be laying 11, right? All right, but you got to get 6.5. If it wasn't these teams, this total, you look at their profiles, is closer to 50.
Yeah. Right.
Both of these teams have been able to score this year. Getting Horvath back is huge, of course, for Navy, but it's this game. So when it's halftime and the score is 7-0, you go, of course. But I think it's interesting because Navy this year hung 34 on Air Force. And Army might go, only 20, no Bryson Daly.
Right.
So I don't know, that translates to 40 points then without the kid. So that I would not be surprised if this game was, relatively speaking, a bit of a shootout.
And the Cadets are a much better defense. They only allow 15 points per game. That's 7th best. Nationally, Navy allows more than 23 points per game. The Naval Academy also allows nearly 160 yards per game on the ground. Army, 11th best in the country, only 104. And Kev, quickly back to you. Our quarterback matchup here is as good as we have seen on either side in a long time in the Army-Navy game. Blake Horvath for Navy was injured in the shutout against Tulane. He said he is good to go for this rendition today. Bryson Daly, 29 rushing touchdowns, at least 110 rushing yards in the 10 games he has played against FBS foes this year.
My only thing with one of the reasons I like Army is I don't fully trust Horvath's health. He's never missing this game.
Right.
He hasn't played since Tulane. And I watched that game. I had some action with when it came to Horvath there. He tried to give it a go in game, and it didn't work out. Right? It didn't work. So I'm sure he's going to try and give it a go today. I would be cautious on some of his numbers.
96.5, a passing yards prop for Navy's quarterback, as good as we have seen through the air in a while. Now we go to Chapel Hill next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Uncle Stevie can just walk up the aisle like he's at the supermarket. I'll get a starting pitcher here, I'll get a closer here, I'll get a first baseman here. He'll just keep throwing things in the cart because there is no limit.
Now he's gone, so they got to go get arms to make that team better. Because the bottom line was they were just outclassed by the Dodgers. Let's face it, they got their ass beat.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I'm actually not even on a side today.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a chance. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on this set to you guys, I said there was one elite defense entering the matchup in Austin back to end out October. It's not the Bulldogs like it used to be. It is Texas.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So as we have said multiple times in this opening hour, sure, it's not your full college football Saturday slate, but still a busy day in the sport in what was a busy week in the coaching carousel, with a story we discussed last weekend, entering conference title Saturday, that felt at the time like maybe it was an Onion headline or just a leverage play for the National Football League. This week, it all became a reality. The new head football coach of North Carolina is Bill Belichick, the guy that has won the most Super Bowls as a head coach in the history of the National Football League, will coach collegiately for the first time in his life at the age of 72. Joe, this came to be earlier in the week that no, this was legitimate, that the interviews that Bill Belichick had with UNC were for this actual head coaching vacancy. And then throughout the week, it was reported a contract was in place. It just needed approval. On Wednesday night, it became official. A Thursday introductory press conference in Chapel Hill. Bill Belichick is the new head coach of Carolina. As you watched him speak at his introductory presser, what did you make of Bill Belichick's approach to becoming UNC's next head football coach?
That they're potentially the most organized team within the conference. I honestly believe that right from the get-go. I think he's an added dimension in regards to this program. We saw Mac Brown take it to a level they plateaued, and now Bill Belichick is looking to take this team to an ACC championship and, more importantly, a college football playoff. Whether he gets there or not remains to be seen. 7.5 win total already on FanDuel, plus 106 to the over. It's juiced heavily to the under to start. But I'll just say this, and we talked about it on the radio, Ben, you know, he understands the current landscape of college football. He's close friends with Nick Saban. His former assistant, Bill O'Brien's currently coaching within the conference at Boston College. He understands what it takes. And as we see NIL creep in and the transfer portal, it's looking more and more like the NFL. And that's where I believe Bill Belichick can coach his team up. I believe that from just a mentoring standpoint and technique and game planning and X's and O's, this team will be significantly better or long-term than what they were with Mac Brown. Now, whether that means in year one they hit the ground running, I'm willing to take that bet. I would take the over early on based off the schedule, but I think he's going to be a great addition to the conference, Kev.
I want to make this point with the win total. is this happens all the time when there's a big story, is some books, FanDuel's very good at it. Was that a story? We'll attach a number to it. And for some reason, someone in that room threw out a 6.5, thinking probably, they don't know, they won 6 this year, which is crazy. Their win total this year was 7.5.
Yeah.
They went under that number, obviously. Right. That's part of the reason Mac Brown was let go. The fact that they hung that 6.5, and I was watching, it went minus 113, minus 138, minus 170, and someone in that room grabbed somebody by the shirt and said, listen to me right now. If you make North Carolina with Bill Belichick our biggest liability before it's 2025, move this thing. And now it's 7.5. Yeah. And we have up there, the over was plus 124. Not anymore. Now it's plus 102.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. We know this well. We do this all the time. If we get to next year's preview shows and we are breaking down a North Carolina 8.5 win total, that wouldn't be stunning.
Oh.
Why would that be stunning? North Carolina is a team that is usually very competitive within this conference, and it is a conference that is open, that this year saw SMU debut and go unbeaten in conference play. Clemson is clearly going to have some level of good with as long as Dabo is there,
right?
But clearly losing their fastball due to his approach in the portal. Miami and Cristobal, maybe they never get over the hump. We're still going to have Florida State as one of the best odds, and there was truly one of the worst power conference teams all year long. So before you even get to Bill Belichick specifically, North Carolina football was likely always going to have top 6 odds to win the ACC next year before you even throw Bill into the mix, Ben.
And let's talk about that football program on Tobacco Road. Yes, football first and foremost is not what Carolina is known for, but this is not Deion Sanders to Colorado taking over for a one-win football team. In all 6 seasons, led by Mac Brown in his second stint, they reached a bowl game. They got to at least 6 wins. 6 of the last 10 years for UNC, they have won at least 8 games. There is a standard in Carolina to be successful in college football. Sure, they have not won an ACC championship since 1980, but they have played in the ACC title game in the last 5 seasons. But now let's talk the person, the figure in the football success that is Bill Belichick. Nobody in the history of the National Football League as a head coach has won more Lombardi trophies. Bill's got 6. Nobody has played in more Super Bowls. Bill's made 9 appearances in that big game, including his postseason victories. He has 333 wins. That is second most in the history of the National Football League, only 14 wins shy of the great Don Shula. So, Kev, there is the thought of why would Bill Belichick want to coach collegiately, and once he has now made this decision, will it work? What say you?
So, to me, I think it has a great chance to work. There's one thing I am worried about, which is something that hurt him in New England down the back stretches. It seems like he is only comfortable working with 6 people.
Yeah.
Like if they name Matt Patricia the offensive coordinator, I might sing a different song. But it's if you look at the landscape, right, and we all follow both obviously very closely, is if you're a high-level coach, how is college not more attractive? Because now they're both very pro-level. The difference is the job security. That Bill Belichick will be there as long as he wants, Lisi.
Yeah, and with his son potentially moving over from Washington to join the staff in the offseason, that's always a possibility as well. I will say, when you just look at what he has said and stated about the program, that he wants it to be a next-level situation where kids come to North Carolina, get an education, but their main concern is to be elevated to the next level as a top 10, top 15 draft pick. That brings a lot of weight with you, and that sells. Whether Bill Belichick is going into the homes of these 17, 18-year-olds or not, that process is there.
It is a 5-year deal worth $50 million, an annual average of $10 million per year. That's a top 10 investment in college football around the nation. So what will it mean for North Carolina? We debate up next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Uncle Stevie can just walk up the aisle like he's at the supermarket. I'll get a starting pitcher here, I'll get a closer here, I'll get a first baseman here, and he'll just keep throwing things in the cart because there is no limit.
Now he's gone, so they got to go get arms to make that team better. Because the bottom line was they were just outclassed by the Dodgers. Let's face it, they got their ass beat.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I'm actually not even on a side today.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a chance. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on this set to you guys, I said there is one elite defense entering the matchup in Austin back to end out October. It's not the Bulldogs like it used to be. It is Texas.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Bill Belichick is the new head coach of North Carolina football. Yes, that is correctly stated. So now the question becomes, will it lead to immediate success for this Tar Heel football program? As we have shared, that win total is 7.5. Sure, the under still has some juice right now, but that is quickly changing in terms of the marketplace. Lisi guy, the odds makers expecting around a 7-5, 8-4 record, perhaps, for North Carolina in Bill Belichick's first season. At his introductory press conference, he was asked often throughout that time, how will your system relate from the NFL collegiately? Yes, it is the NIL era and transfer portal that much more resembles the professional style model of the National Football League, but college football still a very different game. How do you think the Patriot way now becomes the new way of things in Chapel Hill?
I think it becomes maybe one of the top programs. I really do. I think he will have success early on, and the reason why I do say that is because forget the assistants that have come over, and Kevin's right, Patricia's already signed to come over and be a part of that staff already. It's expected his son and McDaniels as well. But just from a preparation standpoint, and you and I talked about it on the radio in terms of his approach to games from the X's and O's standpoint, I think that's where they have a significant advantage. And when you look at, North Carolina last year, they did suffer through, a quarterback carousel, right? Max Johnson, their starter, went down in game number 1 in the victory over Minnesota. The backup got hurt as well. Criswell came on, third-string quarterback. So, they were really up against it from that perspective. Again, just from a preparation standpoint, from his approach to break down oppositions, to find the weakness in a game plan. We've seen him outcoach the best coaches in the NFL. I think he could do it in terms of college. And when you look at the schedule, Kev, 2 games notable, September 20th on the road in the bounce house against new former head coach Scott Frost that comes back to Orlando, and the game with Clemson in the middle part of the year. That will ultimately dictate how great that success looks like. But again, I think they're right on the numbers. 7-8 wins potentially in year number 1.
Yeah, there's so much here. I want to just say, when it comes to, you mentioned McDaniels and Stephen Belichick. If they got McDaniels as the offensive coordinator, I'll listen to an argument he's the best offensive coordinator in college football. Josh McDaniels was so good as an OC, got hired, disaster, fired, back there, awesome again, hired, burned the Colts in a way that should have got him blackballed, went back to New England, still so awesome, hired again. That would be an unreal hire.
Yeah.
The Steven Belichick angle, listen, how did nobody ask about that at that press conference is so beyond me, but I will continue to beat this drum because I know that, although it's interesting, the nepotism crowd, not as interested in this one as they are about someone who's dominating the G League all of a sudden.
24.
I think Steven Belichick would be I think that would be a very fun hire for North Carolina if they made it this offseason. A 38-year-old DC who put out a top 30 defense in his opening year at Washington, who we know lost a ton of talent year over year, both sides of the ball. It wasn't just offense, who has all of those NFL chops. Like, I think Steven Belichick being a head coach at some level is inevitable. North Carolina going, wait. So we get Bill now, all that cachet, and we now don't have to worry about what happened when he's retiring, whenever that is. Like, secretly, awesome. Like, not a negative, not something we should point and laugh at Bill for. Truly, North Carolina has to be sitting there like, is this real? We now know our head coach, ideally, for the next 3 decades.
There were talks about a 400-page document known as an organizational Bible, reports of the succession plan already in place, that when Bill bowed out, it would be Steven Belichick taking over as UNC's next head coach. Those were not necessarily established on Thursday afternoon in the introductory press conference. One official hire that we already know, Michael Lombardi, a guy with nearly 3 decades of experience in NFL front offices, who has worked with Bill in New England, will be the new GM for North Carolina football. I do just want to make this final point as well about the similarities. Bill Belichick worked as a front office exec, the acting GM, the final 5-7 years of his tenure in New England. And yes, players can be paid. And yes, they have agency. It is still a little bit different collegiately, where you have to sell them either through money or vision about joining your football program in the NFL. You can draft and select outside of free agency. 7.5, the win total for Bill Belichick's opening year in Chapel Hill. We shall see. It will be an interesting offseason. Bowl season on the horizon with hour number 2 coming up next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Uncle Stevie can just walk up the aisle like he's at the supermarket. I'll get a starting pitcher here, I'll get a closer here, I'll get a first baseman here, and he'll just keep throwing things in the cart because there is no limit.
Now he's gone, so they got to go get arms to make that team better. Because the bottom line was they were just outclassed by the Dodgers. Let's face it, they got their ass beat.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I'm actually not even on a side today, and I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a chance. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on this set to you guys, I said there was one elite defense entering the matchup in Austin back to end out October. It's not the Bulldogs like it used to be. It is Texas.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on